Hey plant lovers, welcome back. Picture a room in your home that always feels a little too dim. Maybe it is a north-facing bedroom in Seattle, a hallway apartment in Chicago, a bathroom with frosted glass, or that quiet office corner where every plant seems to slowly fade away. Most people look at that kind of space and assume plants simply cannot live there. But here is the part most people don't know. A dark room is not plantless because it is cursed. It is usually plantless because the wrong plants were chosen, watered the wrong way, and expected to behave like they were still sitting beside a bright garden window. And that changes everything. I researched the plants that actually tolerate lower indoor light, the ones that come from forest floors, shaded understories, rocky tropical edges, and humid places where sunlight arrives filtered, softened, and broken into pieces. These plants are not magic. They are survivors. They have learned to live on scraps of light. But low light does not mean no light. That is the first secret. Every plant on this list still needs enough light to read a book nearby during the day. If the room is pitch black unless a lamp is on, that is not low light. That is storage. For that kind of corner, you rotate the plant near a brighter window every week, or use a simple grow bulb. Now, if you have been killing plants in dark rooms, stay with me, because the real trick is not just choosing a tough plant. It is matching the plant to your watering habits, your room, and the kind of beauty you want to see every day. And if this helps you rescue even one sad corner of your home, subscribe now, because this is the kind of plant knowledge that saves you money before you buy another pretty plant that was never meant for your room. Let's begin with the plant that almost feels too dramatic for shade. Calathea stella. This is not the plant you choose because you want something ordinary. The leaves look painted, with soft green and creamy white markings that feel like watercolor on living tissue. Then, when the leaf lifts or bends, the underside flashes purple. That hidden purple is not just decoration. In many prayer plants, the leaf movement helps the plant adjust to changing light through the day, opening and closing like it is negotiating with the room. Do you see what this means? A plant like this was never asking for harsh sun. It evolved for filtered light, the kind that slips through a rainforest canopy. In a dim bedroom, it can look elegant and alive, but it has one demand. Do not treat it like a cactus. Calatheas want steady moisture, higher humidity, and gentle water. If your tap water is heavy with minerals or fluoride, brown, crispy edges can show up fast. Use filtered water, rainwater, or distilled water if you can. Place it at eye level, where both sides of the leaves can be seen, and suddenly, the darkest shelf has movement. But if that sounds too delicate, the snake plant is the opposite personality. Snake plants, also sold under Dracaena trifasciata, are the calm old guardians of houseplants. Tall, sword-like leaves, strong shape, no drama. They can sit in a dim hallway, a low-light bedroom, even a dry office, and still look composed. Here is the catch most people miss. The darker the spot, the less water it uses. A snake plant in a sunny window and a snake plant in a dim corner are not living the same life. In low light, the soil stays wet longer because the plant is growing slowly. Water it like it is in bright light, and root rot begins underground before the leaves ever complain. In a dark room, water deeply, then wait until the soil is fully dry. For many homes, that can mean 3, 4, even 6 weeks. It is that simple. If you travel often, forget watering days. Or want something architectural beside a bed or entryway, this is one of the safest choices. Now, if you want low light with a more mysterious collector feel, Anthurium clarinervium deserves attention. Its leaves are dark, velvety, and heart-shaped, crossed with pale veins that almost look drawn by hand. In the wild, this plant comes from shaded forest regions of southern Mexico, where light is filtered and humidity is steady. That explains its beauty and its weakness. It can tolerate lower light, but it does not enjoy dry air. This is a plant for someone who likes ritual, a chunky, airy potting mix, a pot with drainage, a humidifier nearby if your winter home gets dry. It should never sit in soggy soil because the roots need oxygen. Think orchid bark, perlite, and a loose mix rather than heavy garden dirt. In a dark room, it becomes slower, moodier, more sculptural. Not a fast grower. But sometimes the slow plants are the ones people notice first. For a larger low-light plant that does not require collector-level care, the umbrella tree, or Schefflera arboricola, is a strong choice. The leaves spread out like little green umbrellas, giving the plant a friendly, rounded shape. It is often cheaper than many indoor trees because it grows readily and fills space fast. That makes it perfect for renters, first apartments, and anyone who wants height without spending hundreds of dollars. The umbrella tree can handle lower light, but here is where people get fooled. In dim rooms, it may grow more slowly and stretch toward the nearest window. Rotate the pot every week or two. Keep the soil from staying wet. If it drops a few leaves after being moved, do not panic. Scheffleras can sulk when their light changes, then settle back in. A 3-foot umbrella tree in a plain terracotta pot can make a dark corner feel intentional instead of forgotten. Next is the rattlesnake plant, Calathea lancifolia, one of the most striking patterned plants for a dim room. The leaves are long and narrow, marked with dark spots in a rhythm that almost feels animal-like. Turn the leaf over and you find purple again. That purple underside gives the plant depth, especially in a room with soft morning light. But rattlesnake plants teach a lesson. Low-light plants are not always low-care plants. This one wants humidity, warmth, and consistent moisture. Not swampy soil, not bone-dry soil, something in between. If the leaves curl inward, the plant is telling you the air is too dry, the soil is too dry, or the roots are stressed. Here is where it gets interesting. A rattlesnake plant in a bathroom with a small frosted window may do better than the same plant in a dry living room. The best plant is not just about light. It is about the whole microclimate. Now let's move to Dracaena reflexa, especially the varieties called Song of India and Song of Jamaica. These plants bring a different kind of energy. They do not sit flat and leafy. Their stems bend, branch, and angle like small indoor sculptures. Song of India has green leaves edged in yellow, which can brighten a shadowy room without needing a flower. This is a good plant for dark rooms with height. It can grow tall over time, especially in a larger pot, but indoors, it usually behaves slowly enough to manage. The mistake is overwatering. Dracaenas are not asking for constant moisture. In low light, let the top part of the soil dry well before watering again. If leaves begin dropping, check the soil before blaming the light. Wet roots in a dim corner are a silent problem. If you want something even easier, Dracaena marginata may be better. This is the dragon tree, with thin leaves edged in red, pink, or pale cream, depending on the variety. It has a clean, modern silhouette. In Los Angeles apartments, New York offices, and quiet suburban living rooms, this plant has earned its place because it can tolerate neglect better than many leafy tropicals. Dracaena marginata grows slowly indoors, which is a blessing. You can buy a small one for a tabletop or a taller cane version for a floor pot. It handles lower light, but its color will be stronger with bright indirect light. Again, low light means slower drinking. Do not water on a calendar. Lift the pot. Feel the soil. Let the plant teach you its rhythm. Now we come to a plant nearly everyone has seen, but most people still underestimate. Pothos. Golden pothos, jade pothos, marble queen pothos, neon pothos. Each one has a slightly different mood. Pothos is famous because it forgives people. It forgives missed watering. It forgives uneven light. It forgives beginners who panic and cut too much. That forgiveness is why it appears in offices, kitchens, college dorms, and plant shelves everywhere. In a dark room, choose jade pothos or golden pothos over heavily white variegated types. The greener leaves have more chlorophyll, which means more ability to work with limited light. Let it trail from a shelf or climb a moss pole. When it gets too long, cut a vine below a node, place it in water, and you have a new plant. One pothos can become 10 gifts, There is something generous about that. If pothos feels too common, Selaginella uncinata, often called peacock moss or rainbow moss, brings a color that surprises people. The foliage can shimmer blue-green, especially in lower light. It is not a true moss in the way people imagine, and it is not a true fern either. It belongs to an ancient group of plants called spike mosses. Plain English. It is a soft, spreading, moisture-loving plant from a very old botanical lineage. This one is not for dry rooms. It belongs in terrariums, bathrooms, glass cabinets, or humid corners. Keep the soil evenly moist. Do not let it crisp. Do not place it in direct sun. If you want a living jewel under a glass cloche on a desk, this is one of the most unusual choices on the list. But if you forget water for weeks, skip it. For forgetful plant owners, the ZZ plant is safer. Zamiococcus zamiifolia has glossy leaves and thick underground rhizomes that store water. That is the secret. It does not survive neglect because it is tough in a vague way. It survives because it has built-in storage tanks under the soil. In low light, a ZZ plant may grow slowly, but it will hold its shape for a long time. Water too often, and those rhizomes rot. Water lightly every few days, and you create the worst condition. Damp surface, confused roots, no proper dry down. Instead, water thoroughly, let the excess drain, then wait. In a dim room, waiting is care. There is also the Raven ZZ, with leaves that mature into deep purple-black. Against a cream wall or a light wood shelf, it looks quietly expensive. Now let's talk about bromeliads. Most people see the colorful center and assume they are difficult flowers. But many bromeliads are more like living cups. In their native habitats across Central and South America, some grow on trees, collecting rainwater in the tight rosette of their leaves. Tiny ecosystems can form in those cups outdoors, with insects and even small amphibians using the trapped water. Indoors, bromeliads can tolerate moderate to lower indirect light, especially the green-leaved types. The bright, colorful bract can last for months, which is why they are useful for dark rooms that need color. But understand their life cycle. Many bromeliads bloom once and slowly produce pups at the base. The mother plant declines over time, while the pups become the next generation. That is not failure. That is how the plant lives. Do you see how different plant care feels when you understand the story behind the plant? If you want tropical size, Schefflera amate is the bold cousin of the umbrella plant. The leaves are larger, glossier, and more dramatic. It can fill an empty corner quickly, especially in a living room or office. In bright, indirect light, it grows with confidence. In lower light, it can still survive, but it will slow down and may stretch. This is the plant for someone who wants green volume. Not tiny charm, not delicate leaf patterns, volume. Give it space, rotate it, and prune the top when it gets too tall. That pruning encourages branching, so the plant becomes fuller instead of simply reaching for the ceiling. Next is Chinese evergreen, or aglaonema. This plant is one of the best low-light choices for people who want color without fuss. Older green and silver varieties are especially shade-tolerant. Newer pink and red varieties are beautiful, but they often need a little more light to hold their color. That is important. A red aglaonema placed in a very dark corner may survive, but the color may fade or growth may slow. Still, aglaonema is forgiving. It likes warmth, moderate moisture, and no cold drafts. Let the soil dry slightly between waterings. It works beautifully in offices because it tolerates artificial light better than many plants. For a desk, a bedroom dresser, or a shadowed corner near a window, Chinese evergreen is one of those plants that quietly makes people feel successful. Dieffenbachia is another strong low-light foliage plant, but it comes with a warning. The leaves can be large, creamy, speckled, and tropical. Some varieties look almost painted with camouflage. It grows taller than aglaonema and can become a real statement plant over time. But Dieffenbachia contains calcium oxalate crystals, which can irritate the mouth and throat if chewed. Keep it away from pets and small children. The old nickname, dumb cane, comes from that irritating effect, and while the name is unpleasant, the warning matters. Care is simple. Bright indirect light is best, but it can handle lower light. Water when the upper soil has dried. Rotate it so it does not lean. If the lower leaves drop as it grows, that can be normal, because many cane-like houseplants expose their stems with age. Now for one of the strangest leaves on the list. Anthurium potato radiatum, often called the finger anthurium. Young plants may begin with simple divided leaves, but as they mature, the foliage spreads into narrow fingers, almost like a green hand opening toward the room. It is odd in the best way. This is not the plant you buy for flowers. You buy it because the leaf shape makes people stop and ask questions. It can tolerate lower indirect light, but it prefers warmth, humidity, and a chunky mix. Like many anthuriums, it does not want heavy, wet soil pressing around the roots. Give it air. Give it patience. Give it a pot that drains. A mature finger anthurium on a side table looks like something from a collector's greenhouse, even if the room itself is simple. If you want actual blooms, classic florist anthurium is stronger. These are the ones with glossy, heart-shaped leaves and red, pink, white, or coral spathes. People call them flowers, but the colorful part is technically a modified leaf called a spathe. The true flowers are tiny and arranged on the little spike in the center. In lower light, anthuriums can survive, but flowering improves with brighter indirect light. So if your goal is constant blooms, do not bury it in the darkest corner. Place it near an east-facing window, or a few feet back from a brighter window with sheer curtains. Keep the soil lightly moist but never soggy. The blooms can last a long time, making this one of the best choices for people who want color without replacing cut flowers every week. Peace lily comes next, and this plant has been popular for decades for a reason. It tolerates lower light better than many flowering houseplants, and its white spathes can brighten a dim room. A peace lily also communicates clearly. When it is thirsty, the leaves droop in a dramatic way, then often rise again after watering. But do not misunderstand that signal. If you wait for collapse every time, the plant becomes stressed. Aim for evenly moist soil that is allowed to dry slightly near the top. Peace lilies enjoy humidity, warmth, and bright indirect light for best blooming. In very low light, they may stay green but flower less. Here is the part nobody talks about enough. Peace lilies are not true lilies, but they are still toxic to pets and children if chewed, because of irritating crystals in the tissue. Beautiful does not always mean harmless. Now the pinstripe calathea, often sold as Calathea ornata or Gopertia ornata, is pure elegance. Dark leaves, fine pinkish lines, long stems that hold the foliage like little painted paddles. It is perfect for a dining room, a bedroom dresser, or a spot where you want pattern without chaos. But it is also honest about bad care. Dry air causes crispy edges. Hard tap water can mark the leaves. Direct sun can bleach or burn them. A cold draft near a winter window can make the plant sulk. Give it filtered water, steady moisture, and humidity, and it becomes refined. Ignore those needs, and it turns into a complaint written in brown leaf tips. This is not a beginner-proof plant. It is a beautiful plant for someone willing to pay attention. Boston fern is different. It brings softness. The fronds arch outward and downward, creating a lush, old-fashioned shape that feels like a shaded porch in Charleston or a Victorian parlor in Boston. The plant became widely popular in the late 19th century, and it still carries that vintage feeling. Boston ferns tolerate lower light, but they need humidity and consistent moisture. A dry apartment with forced heat can turn them crispy fast. A bathroom with a window, a kitchen shelf, or a plant stand near a humidifier is better. Trim brown fronds at the base. Keep the soil from drying completely. If you can give it moisture, a Boston fern can make a dim room feel cooler, calmer, and more alive. Now, before the final plant, I want you to notice a pattern. Low-light success is not about finding plants that need nothing. It is about knowing what each plant is storing, hiding, or asking for. Snake plants and ZZ plants store water, so they want dry downs. Calatheas and ferns come from humid shade, so they want moisture and gentle air. Pothos adapts, so it forgives. Anthuriums want air around their roots. That is the secret map. And if you have made it this far, leave a comment with the darkest room in your home, because the plant that works for a bathroom is not always the plant that works for a dry bedroom, and your room can help other plant lovers choose better too. The last plant is the Australian tree fern, Calatheas cooperi, and it feels almost prehistoric. When young, it may look like a large fern, but over time, it forms a trunk, lifting its fronds upward like a fern that decided to become a tree. The new fronds emerge as curled fiddleheads, then slowly unfurl. There is something ancient about watching that happen. This plant loves filtered light, moisture, and humidity. It is not a desert survivor houseplant. The trunk itself should not be allowed to dry out completely, because tree ferns absorb moisture through more than just their roots. Indoors, that means a bright bathroom, a humid sunroom, or a protected corner with steady care is better than a dry, dark office. It can be expensive when purchased large, but if you want a low-light plant that becomes a living conversation piece, this is the one people remember. Not because it is colorful, because it feels like a piece of an older forest moved quietly into the house. So here is the real takeaway. A dark room does not need fake plants. It needs honest plant choices. Choose a snake plant or ZZ plant if you forget to water. Choose pothos if you want trailing growth. Choose aglaonema if you want color with less drama. Choose calatheas if you can offer humidity and gentle water. Choose ferns only if you can keep the air moist. Choose anthuriums if you want sculptural leaves and airy roots. And above all, water less in low light. That single rule saves more plants than any expensive fertilizer. When light is low, growth slows. When growth slows, water use slows. If the roots sit wet while the leaves are barely photosynthesizing, the plant begins dying from below, quietly, invisibly, until one day the leaves yellow and everyone blames the room. But the room was not the enemy. The mismatch was. So walk through your home today. Look at the dim corner you gave up on. Look at the shelf that feels empty. Look at the bedroom that could use one quiet living thing. Then choose the plant that matches that exact place, not the one that looked best under nursery lights at the store. That is how you stop buying plants that fail and start building a home that feels alive in every room, even the darker ones. Take care of your plants.